Hey everyone, you ever watch a movie and just think, wow, that looks amazing? What is that magic quality? Well, it's not just about the fancy cameras or the expensive lenses. There's this hidden language at work, this art that tells you exactly where to look and what to feel, all without a single word. And today, we're going to decode that art of cinematic composition.
Right? What is it that makes a shot feel truly cinematic? We've all been there. You're watching a scene and it just pulls you right in. It feels powerful, it looks absolutely stunning, and you might think it's just magic. But no, it's actually very deliberate design.
And see, that's the secret. It all comes down to the arrangement. You have to think of the movie frame like a painter's canvas. Every single thing you see, the actors, the props, even the way a shadow falls, it's all been put there with incredible intention, specifically to guide your eye and to tell the story.
And that's really what composition is all about. It's the art of arranging everything you see to do two really crucial things. First, to make your eye go exactly where the filmmaker wants it to, and second, to make you feel something. Whether that's excitement or loneliness or tension, it all starts here.
Okay, so let's dive into this. To really get composition, we have to start with its most basic job, telling you, the audience, where to look. This is ground zero. This is where the visual storytelling really begins.
So every great shot has a hero, right? And in composition, we call that the focal point. It's the first thing your eyes should land on. It's the most important piece of information in that frame. And really, the entire composition is built to serve that hero.
So how do you make that focal point just pop? Well, filmmakers have a whole bag of tricks. They can use really stark contrast or play with the size of things, use a pop of color in an otherwise muted scene, or use focus to just blur everything else out. It's all about making that one thing the undeniable star of the show.
Now, contrast is probably one of the simplest but most powerful tools they have. Our brains are literally hardwired to notice the brightest part of an image or where light and dark crash together. So a filmmaker can use high contrast to basically scream, "Look here!" Or they can do the opposite, use low contrast to create a calm, gentle mood where nothing is aggressively fighting for your attention.
Size tells the story too. It's just natural. We look at the biggest thing in the frame first. So by playing with scale, a director tells us what's most important. Your eye will literally travel from the largest thing to the next largest, and so on. It's a really simple but effective way to control your journey through the shot.
Okay, let's keep building on this. Now that we know how to grab the viewer's attention with a focal point, let's talk about how filmmakers shape the entire world inside that frame. And they do that using lines, space, and this amazing illusion of depth.
I want you to think of leading lines as highways for your eyes. Seriously, they can be anything. A road stretching into the distance, the lines of a hallway, the edge of a table. These lines are used on purpose to create a path that literally leads your gaze right to where it's supposed to go. It's an incredibly powerful trick.
The empty space around a subject can be just as important as the subject itself. So we call the subject the positive space, and all that emptiness is the negative space. Now, if a character fills up the frame, they feel powerful, dominant. But you surround that same character with a ton of empty, negative space, suddenly they can feel totally isolated or small or vulnerable. It's amazing.
You have to remember, film is a flat 2D thing. So to make it feel like a real 3D world, filmmakers have to create the illusion of depth. And they do this by layering the shot. They'll put stuff in the foreground, right up close. Then they put the main subject in the midground. And then they fill out the world way in the background. Those layers trick our brains into seeing a deep, immersive space. Pretty cool, huh?
All right, so with those fundamentals down, let's get into the famous stuff. These are the classic blueprints, the guidelines that generations of artists and filmmakers have used to create images that just feel right. First up, the big one. I bet you've heard of this one even if you're not a filmmaker. The rule of thirds. And it's famous for a reason. It's so simple, but it's so incredibly effective. All you do is imagine your screen is sliced up like a tic-tac-toe board. 2 lines going across, 2 lines going down. So the whole idea is, instead of just sticking your subject smack dab in the center of the frame, you put them along one of those lines, or even better, right on one of the 4 spots where those lines cross. We call those power points, and they just naturally create a more dynamic and interesting image. And get this is a fascinating little tidbit. Studies that have actually tracked people's eyes have shown that we are naturally drawn to that top left intersection point first. A whopping 41% of our initial attention goes right there. How wild is that?
It's a super powerful spot to put something important.
You know, our brains are just wired to love order and balance. It's why a symmetrical shot, where both sides are like a mirror image, feels so formal and stable and calm. But filmmakers can mess with that. By creating a lopsided, asymmetrical frame, they can intentionally make us feel like something is off. It's a fantastic way to create tension or a sense of unease.
Okay, this one is such a clever technique. Instead of just using the camera's frame, filmmakers will actually use objects in the scene, like a doorway, a window, the space between two trees, to create a second frame around their subject.
And what's so great about this is that this one little trick does so much work. It adds layers of depth, it funnels your focus right onto the subject, and it can even change how you feel about the character. Like, if you shoot someone through a window, suddenly you feel like a distant observer, or maybe even a spy.
So after going through all these techniques, from focal points to framing, let's kind of bring it all home and talk about what this really means for telling a good story.
Look, it is so important to remember this. These aren't strict, unbreakable laws. They're tools. They're options in a filmmaker's toolbox. The goal isn't just to follow rules for the sake of it, but to make conscious, deliberate choices that actually serve the story and the emotion of a scene.
I absolutely love this quote because it just nails the spirit of composition perfectly. It's not about being correct, it's about being effective. Is what you're doing making the shot more impactful, more memorable? Is it more interesting? That's the real goal.
And this is the masterstroke. Once a filmmaker really understands what makes a composition feel balanced and comfortable, they gain the power to break those rules on purpose. They can create awkward, chaotic, unbalanced frames specifically to make the audience feel trapped or confused or uneasy, putting us right inside the character's head.
So, the next time you're watching a movie or your favorite show, don't just follow the plot. Really look at the frame. Composition is the hidden language of cinema, and it's speaking to you in every single shot. Now that you know how to listen, what new stories are you going to find?